We are in Exodus. We're going to be looking at Exodus chapter 8 this evening. Exodus chapter 8. We're going to look at verses 1 through 15. Exodus 8, 1 through 15. Anybody want to read some text? Either in-house or online?
I got to find it first.
I'll read it.
You'll read it?
Yeah.
All right. Whenever you're ready, go for it.
Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go in to Pharaoh and say to him, 'Thus says the Lord, let my people go, that they may serve me. But if you refuse to let them go, behold, I will plague all your country with frogs. The Nile shall swarm with frogs that shall come up into your house and into your bedroom and on your bed and into the houses of your servants and your people and into your ovens and your kneading bowls. The frogs shall come up on you and on your people and all your servants.' And the Lord said to Moses, 'Say to Aaron, stretch out your hand with your staff over the river, over the canals and over the pools, and make frogs come up on the land of Egypt.' So Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. But the magicians did the same by their secret arts and made frogs come up on the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron and said, 'Plead with the Lord to take away the frogs from me and from my people, and I will let the people go to sacrifice to the Lord.' Moses said to Pharaoh, 'Be pleased to command me when I am to plead for you and for your servants and for your people, that the frogs be cut off from you and your houses and be left only in the Nile.' And he said, 'Tomorrow,' Moses said, 'be it as you say, so that you may know that there is no one like the Lord our God. The frogs shall go away from you and your houses and your servants and your people. They shall be left only in the Nile.' So Moses and Aaron went out from Pharaoh, and Moses cried to the Lord about the frogs, as he had agreed with Pharaoh. And the Lord did according to the word of Moses. The frogs died out in the houses, the courtyards, and the fields, and they gathered them together in heaps, and the land stank. But when Pharaoh saw that there was a respite, he hardened his heart and would not listen to them, as the Lord had said."
All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right. So did God announce the first plague of blood before it happened? If you remember, last week we talked about the first plague, the plague of blood. Do you recall God saying, "I want you to go tell Pharaoh this is about to happen"?
Yes.
He did? What did he tell him to do? No, he didn't. He said, "I want you to go out when Pharaoh goes out to the water. And you're going to do it when you go out." So it wasn't announced beforehand that there was going to be a plague, right? He didn't announce beforehand. They just go out to Pharaoh when he's going out to bathe or whatever he's doing at the Nile in the morning. And then they do the miracle there. Yeah, then the magicians do a similar kind of thing, and they do it there. But God didn't announce it the first time.
He told them, but he told them the first time.
Yeah, the first time with the water to blood, it's as it's happening, but he didn't announce beforehand. But he does this time, right? He announces it this time before it happens. The question is why? Why do you think he announces it beforehand? Because he says there's going to be a plague. You let my people go. If not, this is going to happen. And he doesn't do it, but it's announced beforehand. Why do you think that is? Okay, it gives him a choice. Absolutely, giving him a choice. He wants him to choose to follow him. But specifically, why does he announce the plague is going to happen before it happens? And we're not told. This is kind of, we'd speculate a little bit as to why that might be.
Well, if you tell him it's fixing to happen and then do something to make it happen, That gives you some power.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, think about it. Are frogs common in the Nile? Yeah, they're pretty common. It could be that an overpopulation of frogs might just be seen as a hassle, might be seen as kind of a natural event, a natural disaster versus a divine disaster, or could think, well, maybe we didn't worship our Nile god, our frog god, the right way. And so now, so could maybe attribute this to either natural disaster or maybe there's one of these other gods. Probably not going to think right away that this is the God of the Hebrews that's doing this. But also in line with that is that Pharaoh needs to understand who Yahweh is. Pharaoh needs to understand that the God of the Hebrews is the one who is in control and the one that has all power and all authority. So he's getting a prophecy, really. If you don't let my people go, you're going to have a plague of frogs. And then it happens. So he's in the know before it even happens. So I think there's a number of things going on with why that happens to be that way. So why does God bring a plague of frogs, though? Why frogs?
You ever have a house full of frogs?
I have not. I lived most of my life in the city. Cockroaches. Yeah, I don't think you'd want them all over the place. Yeah. Do you think there's any specific reason for it being frogs, though? Because really, any creature could cause you problems, right?
There's things that would be worse than me.
Yeah, right. Yeah. For some people, it'd be snakes. For Shannon, it'd be spiders and snakes. That would not be good. I talked last week about each of these plagues being an attack upon their gods. This is an attack upon another one of the Egyptian gods. This plague is against the goddess Heket, and she's often pictured with a frog's head, and there's little idol frogs that are used to represent this god. So this again is a direct attack upon one of the Egyptian gods. The Heket was a god of fertility, as well as the god of protection for unborn children. And so they would look to this god, and but this god had this head of a frog, and the frog symbolized this god. So here we have another one of the Egyptian powers, another one of the Egyptian deities that just can't stand up against Yahweh. Now, how bad is the plague of frogs? It's bad.
It was bad enough that made him sound, hey.
It's bad. It's bad. Where are the frogs? They're everywhere. They're in your cookware. They're probably in your bowls right? You're in your kneading bowls, so your bread and all of that. They're all over you. Yeah, they're on the people as well. They're all over the place. That would be a problem, right? We talked about that would probably be a major irritant, having these frogs. There might be things that are worse, but again, there's a number of things going on. First of all, it's too many. It's overwhelming. The noise. Yeah, right. The noise, the aggravation. And I don't know if you have it around here. I haven't noticed, but up north, I forget when it was, springtime or fall. I can't remember. Maybe springtime. You drive it down the road and you would hear pop, 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 pop. Did they have that around here? They were frogs. They would be crossing the street. Thousands of them. Okay. Well, we had it up north in certain roads or whatever. You'd go over it and it would just be horrific. You couldn't avoid them. There was so many of them. You're just like, here we go. And it would just, don't know what they were doing, but it was like pop, 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 the whole way. So you know when people are walking, they're squishing them. They're walking on them. It's getting irritation. So not only are they just all around, making noise, keeping you up at night, they're in your bowls, they're making it hard for you to eat your food or whatever, but you're also killing them, which means you're going to have to clean it up, right? And it's all over the place. So this is just not a pleasant thing to have. This is not like, oh, there's a couple cute frogs that came in the house. No, this is a major problem. So what do Pharaoh's magicians do in response to this plague? What do they do?
And make more of them.
They make more of them. Now, are they powerful? Are they more powerful than the God of the Hebrew slaves?
Of course not.
No. How do we know? From this plague, how do we know?
Well, it don't make them go away.
Right. If they were powerful enough, they'd make them go away. Remember we talked last week, these magicians, they make more blood water. If they make it for real, they make more bloody water. We don't need more, people. We need less, right? Oh, we can do that. We're going to make more frogs. No, stop. You're not helping, right? That would be like if I had a house infested with fleas or something. I call an exterminator. I need to get rid of these fleas. He comes and he lets loose more fleas. Buddy, that's not helping. I need less fleas, not more. So these magicians aren't doing anything to help. They're actually making things worse. So can you imagine what the people are thinking of these magicians? At this point, they might be thinking, oh, wonderful, you can do that, but why are you doing that? That would be my question. Why are you doing that? If you're that powerful, take it away. Don't make more of them. So we know that they're not more powerful than the God of the slave people. Keep that in mind. This is the God of the slave people. This is the God of the downcast, the nobodies. And they're not powerful. They're not more he is.
Well, and then when God took away the frogs, he took away all of them, the magician's frogs.
Sure, they all go away. Absolutely. So we know that. All right. So what does Pharaoh do after his magicians make more frogs? What does Pharaoh do? Not yet. Not yet. All right. He goes to Moses and he asks Moses to make it stop. Why doesn't he have his magicians stop the plague? And it's obvious, we already talked about it. Why doesn't Pharaoh have his magicians stop it? They can't. Who knows that? Who else knows it? Pharaoh knows it. Otherwise, he wouldn't be going to Moses. See, there's something going on here. God is doing some things, and he's wanting to get Pharaoh's attention. Pharaoh's starting to learn his lesson. He's starting to understand. So he goes to Moses, and he wants him to stop it, but he doesn't go to his own because his own, they can't do anything about it. So he's going to go to Moses. So what does Moses say to Pharaoh in verse 9? In verse 9, he might say, let my people go. But there's something else in verse 9, or should be.
Yes, and when do you want it to end? You tell me.
Yeah, tell me when you want the plague to stop. What does Pharaoh say? Tomorrow. Okay.
No, just say now.
Yeah. Well, that's my question. What would you say?
Yeah, now.
I'd be like, how about right this second? How about we get rid of them right now? I have no clue why Pharaoh says tomorrow. Because if it was, Pharaoh is affected by this too. Right? So I don't know what's going on in his mind that he would say tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow sounds like a good idea. If it was me, I would be thinking, no, I want these gone right now. I don't want to deal with this any longer. But he says, well, how about tomorrow? So why does Moses ask Pharaoh what time he wants the plague to stop, though?
So he was in control.
Yeah.
Or God was in control.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. More proof that God is in control, right? Because what happens if the frogs go away and Pharaoh is not given an opportunity to say, when do you want them to go away? And they think they leave tomorrow. What might Pharaoh think?
Maybe it just happened.
Just happened. Maybe this God is nobody. Maybe it just, who knows? But because Pharaoh says, Pharaoh is the one who's making the decision. Moses says, okay, I want you to tell me when you want this to stop, and it'll stop whenever you say. He says, all right, tomorrow. And then, of course, it stops tomorrow. There's more proof that Pharaoh should be believing this, right? When Jesus, there was a centurion who had a slave who was ill, went to Jesus, said, I've got a slave, very important to me. He's ill, sick. Will you heal him? Jesus says, go your way. He's healed. He gets back. Yeah, he has to travel back. Do you remember what he found out when he goes back and finds his servant? His servant was healed.
What time was it?
What time was it? It was the exact moment when Jesus said he'd be healed. What's that? More proof that Jesus is the one doing it, right? Because if he gets back home, maybe his servant is better, but he just kind of got better on his own. Maybe. But it was the exact moment. It was the exact hour. So here, again, it's the exact moment when Pharaoh says, I want these frogs taken away, and they're gone. So when the crisis is over, what does Pharaoh do? Changes his mind, or as Clay said, he does, he hardens his heart. What might be causing him to harden his heart?
I think part of this is just part of it's just stubborn pride.
Okay, pride. Pride could be there. Probably.
I'm not gonna let this guy walk away.
Yeah, Betty.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I talked with. What's that?
He agrees. He uses all his help, all the servants, slaves.
That's true. So there's a couple things going on, right? One might be just being stiff-necked. Tim and I, we talked today about the Bible and talks about stiff-necked people, stubborn people. You ever know anybody who's just stubborn?
Yep.
Maybe you, right? Maybe yourself. I don't know. But we can know some stiff-necked people. We can know some stubborn people. Pharaoh was a stubborn person, hard heart, stubborn kind of guy. But you bring up a great point. If these people go, he's got no assurance that they're coming back. That's financial. That's economical, right? The economy of Egypt, part of it is built on what?
Slave labor.
Slave labor, right? Part of it's built on that.
They've asked to go, like, what, 3 days?
3 days. 3 days.
So if he had just said okay and left that from the beginning, do you think they would have come back in 3 days?
We don't know.
That's what they said. I would go with what they said, but I don't know. Remember, God knows what's going to happen. So he's not going to let him go. God knows that he's not going to let him go. And eventually, God's going to harden Pharaoh's heart. Right now, Pharaoh is hardening his own heart, but God is going to harden Pharaoh's heart as well. I don't know what would have happened, but regardless of what would have happened potentially, you're stupid if you let your slave labor go 3 days journey with everybody and everything. That's not a smart thing to do. I mean, just from a worldly business, right, sense. So part of it is pride. I'm sure there's pride involved. Part of it has to do with the economics of it. But also, I think Pharaoh doesn't want to look weak in front of the other people around, his other servants possibly who are not, Hebrews, the priests around, other nations. You let your slave people walk all over you, you let them go. I think there's a big dynamic going on here, not just.
It looks like somebody else is influencing
Right, right. And you are, and you let these people go? How weak are you? Maybe we can come in and destroy you. Maybe we can come and take over. Right? Another nation hears about this. Maybe they'll come in and wipe them out or something. So there's a lot going on, I think, with Pharaoh in his mind and all that. Pride, stubbornness, economics, wanting not to look weak among other people. I think there's a big, a bunch of things that are going on there. Now, the question we want to ask is, do we ever do that? Do we ever act like that? Do we ever cry out to God, ask him to rescue us, ask him to save us from something? And then when he delivers us, when the crisis is over, do we ever fall back into old ways and old habits? I mean, I've heard of people, I'd have to say I've probably done it myself. Maybe you've even seen in like movies, or you've heard other people, they cry out to God, God, save me from this, rescue me from this, and then I will serve you forever. That kind of thing, right? They get a bad report at the doctor's. Looks bad. You might have whatever the worst thing you could have. You might have this. Pray about it. Take this away and I'll serve you forever. They come back. Well, they've gone through, they're healed, and then they go off and do same thing again.
Have you ever heard Bird's story?
I don't think so.
He's the opposite of that. You gotta ask him.
Okay. Okay. He's the opposite of that.
His mom was-
Oh,
that-
I have heard of that.
Yeah.
Yes. That's right.
And she was trying to make sure that-
That's right. The exact opposite. Yeah. Very biblical, actually, right? Bernie, when he was being born, his mother, and he was sick or something, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. Bernie was sick as a baby or something, possibly going to die. And she said, God in heaven, if you spare him, I will make sure he follows you. And actually, he would be a result of, she did what she said. So that's absolutely the opposite. So that's a great illustration to bring up. But a lot of times people, not everybody, not all the time, but sometimes that happens. And sometimes we can be like that. Sometimes we can cry out to God like Pharaoh did, crying out to Moses, make this stop and I'll do what you want. And then it stops. God rescues us, brings us through however he does, and then we end up going back and our heart becomes hardened. All right, so here's the homework that I'd like you to think about this week. What are some things that we can learn from this passage? I want you to think about the passage. I want you to think about the people involved, especially Pharaoh. If Pharaoh is stubborn because of pride, if he's stubborn because of what other people might do, or how he might, do we ever get concerned about how we look in the eyes of other people? Right? We sometimes look at, well, I don't want to look weak in front of this person. I don't want to look, I don't know, like a religious freak in front of this person or these people or whatever. Everybody else is doing, whatever it happens to be, I don't, so we become persuaded by, we become influenced by other people's opinions or thoughts, and not so much about what God would have us do or how he would want us to live or something like that. So I think about that this week. Think about what are some of the things we can learn from this. And if we are influenced the way Pharaoh was, if we do tend to do sometimes what Pharaoh does, how can we work out of that? How can we break through that? What are some things that we can kind of do? So I'd ask you to think about that this week.
I have a question.
Sure.
So last week, it told us that the water was blood for 7 days.
Yeah.
Did I miss, or do you have an understanding how long the frogs were there?
It doesn't say. It doesn't say. I'm not sure if we could calculate exactly how long it was. It may very well have been a day. It could have happened that morning. And that's why Pharaoh says tomorrow. It's, who knows? I don't think there's anything that says exactly how long it was.
I read that, but I didn't know.
No, the blood Yeah, the blood specifically said it was there for 7 days. But remember, there's a little bit of a difference there. Pharaoh was not asked, when do you want it to stop? So there was a length of time there. This is a different thing. God's doing something a little different. He says, he warns him first that it's coming. And then he says, when do you want it to stop? And it stops. So remember, each lesson is not only a lesson about an attack on one of the Egyptian gods, it is that, but there's also a lesson for Pharaoh to learn in there. There's something that God is doing. So you'll see some differences as we work through all these different plagues. All right, any other questions or thoughts or comments?